Hello, Jose and Paulina and the rest of the family. I am going to do a brief introduction. I'm Christina Morales, by the way. I am the realtor representing you, hopefully, throughout your real estate journey, and I hope to be the one to find you your dream home or the first foot in the door towards your journey to buying your dream home or homes in the future for each of you. So what I want to do is break down the contract as simply as I can, as well as other documents. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I hope that you have questions for me after I'm done with all of this, because I love answering questions. Let's make that small. Okay, here we go. So let's start with purchase agreement. So the purchase agreement is about 16 pages long just for the actual agreement, but different um, there are different addenda that go with it. The first is the agency relationship. This is breaking down when there's a listing agent on a property or a specific house, that agent is the seller's agent. That agent represents the seller solely. They have a fiduciary interest with the seller specifically. So there's no deals or discounts whenever you deal with a seller's agent if you're the buyer. There is buyer's agents. There are buyer's agents. I am both a seller's agent and a buyer's agent. However, I don't represent both at the same time. That's what's considered dual agency, and that talks about it here. While it is legal to do, and I have done at the very beginning of my career, I've been in business 23 plus years, I don't like to do that because of the fiduciary duty. I want to be 100% for the client that I'm representing, and it is challenging to be that for both. While it can be done, it leaves a little bit of a gray area for one side or the other, and I don't want to do that to anyone. So if I'm representing you as a buyer, I am 100% representing you as a buyer and not going to be representing the seller in that situation. Okay, so now what this also means, agent representing both seller and buyer responsibilities. You have a responsibility to, if you're the seller, you have a responsibility to disclose everything and anything you can about the property to have full transparency for the buyer. As a buyer, you have a responsibility to investigate the property. It's not my job to investigate the property. I can point you in the right direction, but at the end of the day, you need to be the one to do the investigating. I will have disclosures available. If they are available to me, I will get them over to you. If you want to have inspections done, I will let you know and lay out the different types of inspections that are needed for properties or highly suggested. If I think you need a home inspection or should get one, I will let you know you should get one. Ultimately, it's going to be your decision at the end of the day. So I want you to know that I will do everything I can to make sure that you are turning over as many rocks as you can to investigate the property. Fair housing and discrimination advisory. This is saying, hey, everybody, we're not going to discriminate. I don't care who the buyers are. Sellers should not care who the buyers are. Doesn't matter what color you are, where you come from, any of these in this box here. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is, are you financially sound to be able to purchase a property? That's all that matters. And this is just an advisory letting you know that we are going to abide by the advisory and not delineate or make rules or exceptions for any specific class. Okay, letting you know that. Possible representation of more than one buyer or seller. So what this means is I am representing other clients as well, and I may have other clients that are in the same price range as you. And if that's the case, they might also be looking at particular properties that you're looking at. They may want to write an offer on the similar property or the same property that you're wanting to write an offer on. I don't like to put myself in that situation. So if I showed you a property today and show the same property to somebody else tomorrow, if you wrote an offer today, I probably would not show that client that house tomorrow. If I did, it would only be for the purpose of finding and getting to the point of what they really want. But usually that's just a conversation. So I would refer that client out to another peer of mine. I don't want to represent and double end or do any of that. I like to keep everything very simple and straightforward. So, but technically and legally, it is legal. I could do that. And this is just a disclosure letting you know agents might be representing buyers themselves, or what it also means when it's dual agency, that could mean that where I'm representing my own you and another client of mine who's also a buyer, or it could mean another agent at eXp Realty would bring in a buyer potentially to go look at the same property you're looking at. Because that other agent is from eXp and I'm from eXp, it's called dual agency. Even though they have nothing to do with me or you, it's still considered dual agency. So this is just a disclosure letting you know that. And also that offers are not necessarily confidential. If we want to make sure that your offer is not shopped, meaning a seller gets an offer at 600,000 and maybe thinks that's low, what they could do is shop it and wait for other buyers to come in and let the other buyers know, look, I have an offer at 600. Can you match that or beat it? And usually, of course, they want them to beat it. So for us, for our offers not to be discussed in that manner, we have to fill out a form. It's a confidential form. We submit it with our offer to the agent, and it needs to be signed by the seller before it's due. So if we say, hey, seller, here's our offer, don't tell anyone what it is. I need to know if you accept my offer by tomorrow at noon. They need to sign the confidential form that we send along with it before noon tomorrow back to us. And that says, okay, we agree we won't shop your offer. 90% of the time that's not happening. They will do our due diligence and pray that they sign it and send it back, but oftentimes they don't. So it's a roll of the dice. That's just, it is the way it is. And this is just to let you know that, you know, your offer is not necessarily confidential. Now, there are agents that won't tell and do keep that confidential, but because it's not illegal, there are agents that do shop it. So just so you know that. Wire fraud and electronic funds transfer advisory. This is to let you know that there's scammers everywhere. And whenever you are in escrow, any funds like your earnest money deposit, your initial down payment, that amount needs to be wired from your bank to the escrow company. The escrow company is a neutral third party, and that company will receive your 3% down. If you're doing 20% down, as an example, you would still only deposit 3% within the first 3 days of your offer being accepted, and the remainder would be due at the close of escrow, which is typically 30 days. Okay. And this is to let you know that once you're doing wire transfers, you go to bank, hey, Bay Federal, I'm going to go, I'm buying a house. I need to wire this percent of money to this bank, and you get instructions from the title company. So you have an actual piece of paper that you could walk into the bank and give it to them, and they know what to do with it. This is to let you know that sometimes scammers will email you or try and call you and pretend that they are your bank asking for wire funds. But before anything like that happens, we let you know who the bank is and who are the main people at the bank that are working on your file that would be calling you. And if you ever have a question about that, you call that Bay Federal or you call your lender and you say, hey, I'm not sure if this is a scam. Is this something that I need to be concerned about? And they'll say, no, it's okay. Go ahead and do it. Then you go ahead and do it. This is just letting you know to be mindful. Okay. And then here you have the buyer's homeowner's insurance advisory. In California, there is a lot of insurance companies that have left California because of all the fires that we've had. Insurance can be expensive depending on the type of property that you're purchasing and the location of that property. If your property is a mountain property with a lot of trees, you're going to have fire insurance. That's extra insurance that costs more than normal insurance. If you purchased a home in the city, maybe your annual insurance is $1,200 a year. That's an example. If you buy a house in the woods or in that has a lot of fields, wheat or, dense brush, anything like that, anything that could be considered a fire hazard, your insurance can go up to double, okay, for the year. So you need to be aware ahead of time. So as soon as we find a property that you like, then we're going to, within the contingency period, go find insurance. How do you do that? You go to whoever you currently have auto insurance with. If you're a homeowner currently, then you ask your current home insurance company, hey, can you quote me on 123 Main Street and let me know what that insurance would look like? Or if you're a renter, you call the same insurance company who holds your auto insurance policy to find out if they can quote you for home insurance, and you ask them the same thing and give them the property address. Every insurance carrier gives quotes, and that's okay. So that's what this is saying. You need to do that, because the last thing you want to do is wait until the close of escrow and then try and get your home insurance, because the escrow company is going to ask you, who's your insurance provider? And if you don't have that information, it's going to delay the close of escrow and it can potentially blow your deal apart. So you want to make sure you get that done up front. Okay. Next, we have the actual purchase contract. So here, I just did an example. Sally Seashell and Berry Beach are buying this property at 123, my new address, at my city, my county, and there's a parcel number there, the listing office information, their agent is there, my brokerage is here, eXp Realty, Christina Morales. I am specifically representing the buyer. Listing office agent is specifically representing the seller. Let's pretend we're buying this property for $800,000. The close of escrow will be 30 days. That gives us ample time for contingencies and should be ample time for appraisal and for the lender to do everything that they need to do. Your initial deposit will be 3%. Let's pretend you have a total of 15% you want to put down. You only want to put down the 3% because if something should go sideways, and it's my job to make sure it doesn't, but if it should, if it's something out of my control, then your money, that is your initial deposit, could be at risk if something went sideways. You don't want to put the whole basket of eggs in this pocket here. You want to be able to come in with the remainder amount at the close of escrow. Okay, so it says down here, balance of down payment, 90,000. So you have a total of about 15% that you're going to be putting down as an example. So your loan amount is going to be $686,000. It breaks it down here. It's 85% of the purchase amount. And what I didn't put here was at a rate not to exceed, we'll say 7.7 on here, just as an example. So that means if the rate bumps up to 8%, because this is written in here on the contract, that means this, if it's 8% by the time you're getting to close, you can actually cancel the contract because now you can't afford to move forward, possibly, right? So, but let's say you say, well, I probably could move forward. I'm going to pay the lender and have a conversation with your lender about how much it would cost to pay 1 point to obtain 7.7. So 1 point is usually the cost of the loan amount. So 1 point is 1% of $686,000. So just under $7,000. Let's pretend it costs $7,000. That's the interest rate went up to 8% today, but to buy that interest rate down to 7.7 where we initially had it, it's going to cost me up to 1 point, up to $7,000. So if I come up with another $7,000, lender, can you make that 8% back down to 7% or 7.7? They will most likely be able to do that. Okay. This saves you because if the interest rates jump up to 9%, again, you can only do 7.7 plus 1%, that's 8.7. and you're out of the transaction because you can't afford to move forward if the interest rate went beyond that 8.7. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Talk to the lender to get more clarification on that if you need to. And this would be FHA if it's FHA, otherwise it's just automatically conventional. All right. And then moving forward, down here is seller credit. So if you need any specific credit, we would write in an amount or a percentage here, and or if you need an amount to be applied to closing costs. I will tell you, if you're a conventional loan purchase buyer, most of the time you have funds to be able to pay for your own closing costs. And I would not recommend putting any credit in here for anything like that if you don't need to. However, if the house needs significant repairs, we might ask for a credit for repair or an adjustment to the price. Okay, that's one section. So it's not impossible to do that. It's very possible, but we want to get strategic when we do ask for anything like that. And if there's additional finance terms, we would note that information here. Now this box here, seller agrees to pay the obligation of buyer to compensate buyer's broker under a separate agreement. So I'm going to jump over to that. You are safe in a transaction, and it's my job to keep you from having any pitfalls in a transaction and keeping you on track with your timelines. And so going back to this item here, seller agrees to pay the obligation. So I'm charging 3%, right? I'm charging you 3%. However, by me checking this box here in the offer, you're offering to buy a property, you're also saying, hey, seller, will you pay for my buyer broker? And then that form, SPBB, is one that we just talked about. We're going to supply them that form that says you agree to pay the 3%. And if they agree to pay the 3%, then you don't have to. So that is always the first goal. We're going to try and have the seller agree to pay for the buyer's broker, me, my services. If they agree to pay for 2.5%, as an example, then there's a gap of that 0.5%. If you can come up with the difference, then you pay that difference at the close of escrow. So the seller would pay 2.5, then you just pay the remainder 0.5%, 0.50, right? Half of it. Okay, so let me know if you have questions about that. Sometimes the sellers might say no altogether. And in that instance, if they say no altogether, then the responsibility does go back to the buyer. And again, you can either pay it out of pocket or you can wrap it into the loan, or we can have conversation about that. Okay. And then verification of cash. Sometimes, so even your down payment. So all of your funds are going to need to be verified. Not only does the lender need to verify your funds to make sure you have the money to, to put as a down payment, the listing agents are usually going to require proof of funds. Proof of funds is, even if you're not paying cash for a house, whatever your down payment is, they want to make sure, hey, let's see, do they have $100,000 in the bank to pay for the down payment? They want to see that on a bank statement. All we need is a copy of your bank statement that has your name and the amount in the bank. We don't need account numbers. We don't need your home address. We don't need anything that you purchased. We don't care about that. The agents just want to see, and the sellers are supposed to see your name and that you have the money there. Okay, good. Then they could check that off their box and move forward. So we need to make sure we have that. We know that you're getting, or you are pre-approved already with David at Bay Federal. So I would get a pre-approval letter from him. And this here is a loan and appraisal. Those are two separate contingencies. It's automatically baked into the contract for 17 days. What does that mean? That means if your offer was submitted today, gets accepted tomorrow, it's a 30-day escrow. Within that 30 days, that first 17 days is the click of the time clock for us to get any inspection done that we want. And there are a plethora of inspections to get done. And it all depends on the type of property that you're purchasing for the type of recommended inspection. And there's costs associated with the inspections. Home inspections are usually per square foot, but that you're looking at anywhere between $600 and $1,200, depending on the house, right? And pest inspection, you're looking at $275 to maybe $500. What's a pest inspection? That is for either termites or other pests like rodents or, roaches or any other kind of beetles or anything like that. Most people get a home inspection, and that home inspector will go on top, inside, and under a home and determines the habitability, the viability, the workability, anything that needs maintenance and all the degrees of maintenance. It's a great benchmark for any new homeowner to see the actual status of a property. It's like going to the doctor and getting a physical to find out what's wrong. That's what a home inspection does. They're very important to get. I highly recommend everybody get one for pretty much every property, unless it's a demolition property and you're going to start from new. Maybe that doesn't matter. If your property that you're purchasing is on a septic system or a well, or if it has a fireplace that from the home inspection says it's cracked, then I would recommend a fireplace inspection, a septic inspection, and a well inspection. Very important for habitability of the property. So you want to know those things when you can. A lot of the times, I would say 90% of the time, listing agents recommend to the sellers to get inspections because it helps identify what's wrong with the property ahead of time. Some sellers don't want to be put out of the money for those types of inspections, and they will put that on the buyer. Buyer, if you want to buy my house, you can get any inspection you want, and you're going to have to pay for it. Yes, you will have to pay for it ahead of time. That's not something that can get paid through escrow. It gets paid upfront. And when that happens, it's good because it's better to get an offer accepted, get an inspection done, and then if you find out from an inspection there's way more work than you ever anticipated and it's not worth moving forward, then you can cancel the contract and get back your money that you put down. It's when you don't do that and you find out later, or even after you close escrow and you decide and discover, oh my gosh, I should have got a roof report because now the whole roof is leaking. That's where problems tend to arise. And we want to mitigate as many problems as possible at the front end. So again, these are 17-day contingencies. Let's pretend on day 17, we would remove the contingency because we've already had the inspection. Everything looks good. We're going to remove it. Now we could keep moving forward. By removing it, that means I am all in. I'm moving forward to buy this house. I'm doing everything I can to buy it. I'm not using anything like get out of jail free card. That's what these are. Get out of jail free cards, the timeline on here. So if you're on day 18 and you decide and you removed your contingency and then you decide, you know what, I don't want to buy this house anymore. Guess what? You risk all this money, $24,000 that you put down. That might end up going to the seller. Depends on the seller situation. If they have multiple offers and people kicking down the door to purchase that property, they might give you your money back, no problem. But if there's crickets and nobody wants to buy this property and you were the only one, and now you decided a day after you remove contingencies, that seller might say, okay, you can cancel, but I'm going to keep your money. And they would have every right to do so. That's why it's my job to say, hey, we're coming up on our contingencies. You need to remove them. Are you good? You're comfortable moving forward? And you say, yes, we remove them. Loan and appraisal are also only 17. So your lender will know after the appraisal is done if it comes in at value. If you offered 800,000 and the appraisal comes in at 820, you're good. You're walking into equity. If it comes in at 800, you're good. You're right on the money. If it comes in under 800, then we can say, well, appraisal contingency based upon appraised value at minimum of purchase price, or let's say it comes in at 795. That's 5,000 under 800. Do you have the 5,000 to kick in to make it 800? Or, and if you did, we would put that amount here, 795 on this section right here. But if you said, no, I want it to appraise at 800 or more, great, we would leave it as is, okay? And then we would remove that contingency prior to day 17 if we can, or for sure on day 17. The loan also, lender will know within 17 days if he can get you underwritten. If you're underwritten, that means that they have verified your employment, they verified your bank, your finances, they verified everything, and you're good to go. There's no reason other than the appraisal and the close of escrow for them to lend this money. So once the lender gets a green light, and I always wait for the lender to tell me, yes, you can remove that loan appraisal. Yes, you can remove that loan contingency, then I will remove those. Usually I do that. I don't just do them without talking to the lender ever. Investigation of property, again, same thing. You have 17 days to remove that contingency. And if after 17 days, we got all the contingencies, all of the inspections done, and you still wanted to access the property, you can't. After the 17 days, you can't access the property unless we have an appointment, because it's at that if it's vacant, it shouldn't be an issue. If the property you're purchasing is occupied by the homeowner still, at that point, it's more like harassment. I know you're excited, but you have the 17 days. You have to just sit tight, be patient, and then once it's closed, it'll be yours. You'll be in it every day. So only if there was a significant reason for you to go back for another investigation of some material fact, then would we be able to go back. Otherwise, you can only go on the property within the 17 days, okay? And then a preliminary title report that lets us know if the title's good on the property, and the seller has documents and disclosures that they'll send over to us to review. And if there's tenants in a property, then there's a whole nother set of rules and regulations. Usually, sometimes the seller needs time to, if they're occupying the property, sometimes they need time to leave, and we'll be asked to let them stay at the property. And if that's the case, then there's a document, it's like a lease. You let the seller remain at the property within 29 days or less, or there's a month-to-month lease that occurs if it's 30 days or more. So those will be discussed further if that situation arises. Otherwise, there's everything in the contract needs to be done in writing, and this contract is very, very specific and very detailed for everything that has to do with a particular property. Now, if the property comes with a stove, refrigerator, washer, dryer, etc., or anything else in this box, we'll mark it if it comes with it. If we're not sure, or let's say there's a pool table in the house and it wasn't listed in the MLS and we don't know if it actually is transferring with the property, we can put it down on here and we can ask for it. And at no value, like don't charge me, I just want it to come with the house, then we can ask for it. So keep that in mind. And then there are certain documents that are important also. It's a statutory document. The seller has to pay for a natural hazard zone disclosure report. In that report, it gives us the environmental information about the property, the neighborhood, a radius out, is there a military ordinance anywhere near? Are you near an airport? Are you near a fire hazard? Are you in a flood zone, etc.? This document tells you everything that you're supposed to know and that the seller is supposed to disclose to you. This is just saying who pays for that. The seller pays for that. Seller also is required to have smoke alarms and CO detectors and water heater bracing at the property before the close of escrow. The escrow fee depends on the county who pays for pretty much all these counties that I had selected before: Santa Cruz, Monterey, San Benito, and Santa Clara. The fees are split 50-50 for escrow fees. For the owner's title insurance, split 50-50. The buyer pays for the buyer's lender title insurance policy. That's just the way it is. County transfer taxes, sellers. If you're within the city, then there's a city tax in addition to the county. And I don't think we're looking at anything with an HOA, but there's definitely HOA fees and costs that are associated with that. So, and if that comes into play, then just know that there are some things the seller pays for, some things the buyer pays for, and HOA transfer fees can get negotiated or split. What I like to do for every client is my gift to you is when you purchase a home, I pay for your home warranty. What does that look like? I pay $800 for you to have some peace of mind for 1 full year after you purchase your property. And that covers a lot because I like to get the upgraded plans, warranty plans. That pays for your refrigerator. If it breaks down, we call the home warranty company. You pay a service fee. Usually it's about $85. The service person comes out, they look at it, they repair it and fix it and take off and be on their merry way. If they cannot fix it and it's under the covered plan, then they will replace it. So if let's say the motor went out on the refrigerator and it's covered under the warranty, all you paid was $85 for them to come out and check it. If they can't fix it, they have to replace it, then they will get you the same like model of refrigerator. If the like model is not available, they will get you the next one that is most like it. If you want to upgrade and get a better, fancier model, then they will get you the like model pricing. And then anything above that, you would just need to pay out of pocket. Okay. So this is peace of mind. I can't tell you how many clients have been so happy for this gift because $800 is a lot. And I've had people who have had swimming pools and the heat pump goes out. And thank God for that home warranty because that would have been thousands of dollars if they did not have a warranty. And same thing with the refrigerator, that's happened. I've had dishwasher issues that people were so thankful that the warranty was in place. Ovens, just appliances, heat, water heaters, things like that. So that's my gift to you for being my client because I know how important and stressful it can be your first year in a new home and you want everything to work functionally and in good working order. So I make sure that that happens one way or another, and even if that's by the use of a home warranty. And then this down here, if there's anything specific to, let's say, pretend you were buying a home where the person passed away, or maybe they passed away in the home or outside of the home or somewhere else, and it was an investment property. Either way, there's a probate. If there's a probate property, then there's a probate agreement purchase addendum that would get associated with that contract. So all of 4A, B, and C are addenda and advisories that would get included if it's applicable. If it's not, then it's not applicable. What is automatically in here is some things we've already gone over: wire fraud, fair housing, etc. And then all of these from 5 on to page 16 is the detail. Like, okay, well, what about that initial deposit? Or what about if it's a cash offer? Or if you have one loan or two loans, or if you have financing, seller financing. Let's say, as an example, we go to E15C1. Let's go over here to 5C1, first loan. This loan will provide for conventional financing unless it's FHA, VA, seller financing, or other is checked. So everything on page 1, 2, and 3 in this column over here on the left, these two columns, is referenced throughout all the rest of the pages. Okay, so if you want more detail about something that maybe I didn't cover, or you want more detail on a specific area, this is how you find the rest of the detail. Okay, but the contingencies and the removal of contingencies, those need to be in writing, and that's my job to make sure that that gets done in time on the last date of the contingency or before. If we need to extend for whatever reason, there's a document for everything because everything needs to be in writing. So if we need to extend the contingency from 17 days to 20 days, for example, let's say the appraiser is backed up and he can't get out there until day 19, then I'm going to ask for an extension of time for that specific contingency. I could remove other things and leave the one that's, you know, bold, that's blaring, that we need to get done. If items are included in sale, we need to make sure there's an addendum that says that they're at zero cost. So we want to make sure that if it's included at a zero cost, not any additional cost. Talks about home warranty. Seller has statutory documents and disclosures that they must disclose, and I make a point to find out if they're there or not. They are usually pretty good, but if there's anything that's missing, I'll let the other side know. And let's see here. What else? Oh, I know, very important. If you have a dispute, it's always right here by initialing this section here, your liquidated damages. So if you fail to complete the purchase because you defaulted, remember that whole day 18 thing I mentioned, the seller shall retain as liquidated damages that deposit that you actually paid to the title company. If the property is more than 4 units, it goes on to more disclosures, but it's that or no more than 3% of the purchase price. Usually it's the lesser of the two. But just know by initialing here, you're agreeing that by you initialing, you're basically saying, I don't plan on defaulting. So I have no problem initialing here because I want to keep my money. And then the seller agrees to that as well. Arbitration or disputes. If there's a dispute for whatever reason, I don't know, it could be anything. There's so many different things it could be. If there's a dispute, by initialing down here, both parties need to initial for it to actually take effect if there's a dispute. What does that mean? That means there's a mediator. You would agree to go to some type of mediator. Sometimes it's a judge or retired judge or some ombudsman or someone is appointed to be the mediator to help the dispute between seller and buyer. That happens and occurs when it's initialed. When it's not initialed, it means I want to go to court no matter what. And it could be small claims court, or it could be regular court. Small claims takes any issue if you have whatever the dispute is. If it's up to $10,000, then you can go to small claims. Anything beyond that goes to regular judge and jury. So just FYI to that. Pretty much everybody signs this for the most part. I would say most buyers do. Doesn't mean you have to, but I would say most buyers do. Most sellers do. I will be honest, the only time I've ever seen anybody not sign is when they are an attorney. Attorneys don't like to sign that because what do they want to do? They want to do their job. They want to go to court and win. That's just what they do. It's just something I've noticed. Maybe not all attorneys, but I have known some who don't sign those. So there's that. If you were an entity, meaning if you were putting the property in a trust, it would need to be set up ahead of time. Technically, we could, if you wanted to put it in a trust during the middle of escrow, it's more of a pain in the butt to do it that way. I would say if you have a trust that you want to put it in, do it before we write an offer. But I've seen it where it could be done in the middle of escrow, definitely before close of escrow, or you could always just do it after escrow, make things easier. Otherwise, if we did, we would check mark this little box and put the name of the trust here. And then that is it for the contract. Buyer investigation advisory. This is saying you have the right to investigate the property. You can investigate the square footage, the boundaries, soil stability, water utilities, environmental hazards. You can go park outside in the neighborhood on nights and on weekends to check the noise, to see how many cars are parked everywhere, to check earthquakes and flooding. Earthquake, we're in California, so there's actually not a report that says, yes, you're in a earthquake zone. Although if you know where the San Andreas fault line is, you'll have a good idea where the earthquake fault zone is just by looking at a map. But I don't think California, not that I've come across yet, have any reports that say specifically like this neighborhood is in a specific earthquake zone, just because we're in California. So I think that's just the way it is. Environmental reports, fire hazard reports, you could check everything. Building and planning and zoning, you definitely want to go to the county building and check the planning department and find out everything. You just let them know because there will be a form authorization for you to go check the county for the history on the property. You'll find out you want to find out the characteristics, you want to find out the property information, any building or zoning issues or permits issued to this property, and you'll find a plethora of information on particular properties. Specifically, I would say it's important if you have country property, because you never know, where was it a meth lab? Was it and that's if it's known, right? If there was red tags on the property, or there's, garbage on the property, or maybe, I don't know, there could be so many different things, but you want to find that out at the building and zoning departments of the county buildings. Okay, there's that. You can check, let's see, what else? Neighborhood, subdivision conditions, etc. A lot of things. So you could do all that within 17 days. So there's that. Fair Appraisal Act addendum. This is basically saying any appraisal on the property is required to be unbiased, objective, and not influenced by improper or illegal considerations. The appraisers are really sticky. When they go out, they don't want anybody there because they don't want to be influenced in any way, shape, or form. So this is just saying that, okay, appraiser, you do you go out there and you make sure that you're not biased. They're not supposed to be. They're not supposed to have any issues with who's buying the property, etc. So there's that. California Consumer Privacy Act advisory. This is a long one. Oh, sorry, I feel like I've just been talking so long. So consumer information. Oh, so EXP is not gathering any information to sell or put out there. During the process of buying and selling the real estate, your proper personal information will be collected and likely shared with others, including real estate licensees. So yes, I'm gathering your email, your phone numbers, that type of information. I'm not putting it out. I'm not selling it. I'm not doing anything with it other than what I need to for the process of the transaction or the process of moving forward to help you purchase a property. EXP does not do anything to try and sell your contact information either. Same with the lender, same with the title company, same with the insurance companies. But as we know, sometimes entities get hacked and sometimes information might get out there. Don't know, but I don't know. We're in a world now where I feel like everybody's information is really pretty much easily available. Even the people that try not to, somehow it can get hacked. But I'm just letting you know that we won't do that. So okay, that's a nutshell on this contract and everything. So you let me know, go through it, go line by line if you want. You please let me know if you have questions about it. I'm going to send it to you in a PDF as well as the other documents, and let me know if you have questions. If you don't have questions, the one document that I will send over to you for signature, because I will need it when we do write an offer, and I need it dated before we write an offer, is the exclusive relationship that we have together. And again, that relationship, I charge a fee, it's 3%. We are going to ask the seller every single time, seller, will you pay that 3%? Okay. Leave me a message if you need to. If you're calling, if I don't answer a detailed message, please. And if you email me, text me and let me know that you emailed me. I really do get hundreds of emails a day. So filtering through them, I'll glance at them throughout the day. But if it's important and I know I'm looking for something, then I'll go look for it right away, sooner than later. All right. I hope you have a wonderful time reading everything. And I'm glad it's a weekend, so you have time to do it. All right. Again, let me know if you have any questions. Have a good one. Take care. Bye.